Hey everyone, and welcome to Minutia Minute's first ever movie review. This is going to be of Comic Book the Movie. It's a direct-to-video feature, directed by Mark Hamill, I believe basically written by Mark Hamill. I know it was sort of his concept. Now, I'm going to warn you guys in advance, if you're looking for a movie that is like Inception, in the sense of like amazing cinematography and amazing special effects and amazing acting and generally just amazing awesomeness, Comic Book the Movie probably isn't the movie for you. However, that's not to say that it's bad. So Comic Book the Movie is basically Mark Hamill playing a character named Donald Swan, and he is a huge fan of Golden Age comic books, particularly a character named Commander Courage, who is the guy on his shirt here. And Hollywood is going to make a movie of Commander Courage, but they've revamped him, and he's going to be called Codename Courage, and he sort of goes from kind of being like a Superman or a Captain America, support the war effort kind of a character, to being an anti-terrorist, one-man strike force kind of a thing. And his sidekick, who is named Liberty Lad, who's basically like a Robin character, is replaced by Liberty Lass, who's this character back here, and she's this sort of sexy vixen that Codename Courage has an illicit relationship with. So Hollywood has sort of taken this precious character that he has, grown to love over the years, and just sort of completely turned it on its head, and then hires Donald Swan as sort of like a creative consultant, but really it's just to sort of give the movie some credibility. And Donald Swan takes the job, but he decides that he's going to sort of get Hollywood to see things his way and sort of revive the Golden Age version of Commander Courage, rather than go for this Codename Courage thing. Now, he's not doing it to be malicious, he just really is a fairly naive guy, and he really just kind of wants Hollywood to see comics the way he sees them, and he wants them to understand, what he loves about those old Golden Age books, and he's just sort of trying to bring people around to his way of thinking. So by the end of the book, though, it's crash and burn for Hollywood. Hollywood ends up abandoning the character and not making the movie because Donald Swan sort of causes so much trouble for them. Now, this movie was mostly shot at Comic-Con, probably like Comic-Con 2001 or 2002. So the movie has lots of celebrities. You can see there's all kinds of faces at the bottom, and they're basically just people that Mark Hamill interviewed at Comic-Con. So this whole movie is it's very home video-ish. It's definitely shot on like digital video, and he just goes around to different celebrities and interviews them. One of the things that's kind of clever about the way Mark Hamill approached this project is that he wants them to talk about this fictional character, Commander Cody, but he says the real Mark Hamill tells these people, like Bruce Campbell and Hugh Hefner and Stan Lee and people like that, to talk about a particular superhero that they love, or about comic books in general, and then just when you're going to say Superman, or say Batman, or say Spider-Man, say Commander Courage instead. So Commander Courage becomes this sort of great archetypical catch-all for everything that all of these people in real life love about comics. So it's a fun movie for that reason. You get to see a lot of comic book love and a lot of just sort of talking about comic book history. So it's a pretty interesting movie, even if it's definitely not sort of a professionally made movie. Now, because there are so many sort of big name actors and things like that that appear in this movie and cameos, all of the people who play fictional characters in this movie are actually all voice actors that Mark Hamill has worked with. So people like Tom Kenny, Billy West, and other people like that play all the fictional characters, and then all of the celebrities basically just play themselves. So that's another thing that's kind of fun about this movie. Again, it's not a movie that's very it's not very cinematic. It's not very, artistically refined. It's just sort of a lot of sort of celebrity friends, sort of second-tier celebrity friends. The Kardashians aren't in this, but, the Mark Hamills and the Kevin Smiths and people like that, all just kind of getting together and having fun and making this movie. One of the things that makes this movie particularly interesting to watch nowadays is, this movie came out in like 2002. And so it's very dated in that sort of skeptical of Hollywood kind of mentality, where it's like, Spider-Man the movie has come out, and Hollywood has bought up every comic book property that they can get their hands on. And so there's a lot of, at that time, if you were a comic book fan, there was a lot of sort of mixed feelings about it, because it's like, well, where is Hollywood going to go with this stuff? Are they going to ruin everything that, that we've come to love over the years and, have invested so much of our time and lives into? And that's really the question that they're struggling with in this movie. And it's funny, and the reason why I wanted this to be my first review is, a few weeks ago, I just went to see, The Avengers. And, that is a movie that I don't think the world of 2002 ever would have really seen coming, at least not in the way that it did, because The Avengers is a comic book movie in every sense of the word. It's like a huge event book kind of a comic book movie, and it ties in with other franchises and other movies from other studios, all culminating in this big Avengers event. And Hollywood would never make a movie like that on their own. But instead of Hollywood taking over the comic book industry, what ended up happening was the comic book industry really took over Hollywood. And, Marvel Studios, ever since 2008 with the release of Iron Man, has really, held the reins over Hollywood rather than vice versa. And so it's really shown, and it's been fun to see a lot of our, favorite characters and favorite things sort of brought to life in such a great way. As it says at the top of this, the tagline says, Hollywood invaded the comic book world, but now the real comic book heroes are striking back. And that's, not only is that what happens in this movie, but that's what really kind of happened in real life. Marvel came in and just changed the whole game. So, kind of an interesting look back, though, because it could have gone so many different ways. Marvel could have handled their sort of rise to Hollywood's success a lot differently than they did, and because they did handle it so well, we get great movies like The Avengers. So I'm excited to see more of those, and in the meantime, it's fun to watch movies like Comic Book the Movie, just to kind of get a sense of sort of where our mindsets were back, when Marvel was really just getting going, and when Hollywood was really kind of had a stranglehold on comics, in the sense that because they were out for blood, they wanted everything, and you just didn't know if it was going to be good or not. One other interesting thing that I just like to note is, it's always been Hollywood being taken over by the comic book industry, even though it doesn't seem like it. Back, obviously DC is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, but back in the day, like in, I think the 50s is when that merger happened. Back then it would have been National Comics, and the thing that's funny is, really DC or National Comics was really the parent company at that time. Warner Brothers, the movie company, was the subsidiary of this massive media conglomerate that was, National Comics in a sense. And it wasn't until later that that really flipped around, and, Warner Brothers is really the parent company now. So it's interesting that, Marvel has been able to carve out this huge sort of movie niche in the Hollywood system, and DC, who has always been part of the Hollywood system because they're owned by, a company that lives and breathes in Hollywood, just hasn't been able to do it. So I hope DC gets their fair shake, and in the meantime, I will certainly enjoy Marvel movies. Getting back to this review, if you haven't seen Comic Book the Movie, I do recommend it, because it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's just very much a home movie. So if you're going in looking for a great cinematic experience, don't bother. But if you just want something fun, you want to see Stan Lee talk about comics, you would give this movie a thumbs up, I think. So go check it out, and I hope you enjoyed this first ever movie review. My next review is going to be a movie called Super, which stars Rainn Wilson, and I will have that one up in the next couple of weeks, depending on when I get a chance to do it. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy this video, and let me know down below if there's anything you'd like me to do differently. Since this is my first ever movie one, I'm definitely looking for feedback, so if you have any ideas, let me know. In the meantime, I will talk to you soon, and all I want to say is, I promise in my next review, I won't say "in the meantime" quite so much. Alright, talk to you later. Bye-bye.